what if I can show you how to set up your body so that you can get everything out of the way and try to hit the ball as hard as you want. You can swing as absolutely hard as you want and still hit a straight shot. Because that's what I'm here to show you today. Now, I've got multiple videos up on how to do this, but they're kind of long. And so I thought, well, let's just go over the meat of it. How are we actually getting to set our body up? You can even stop there if you want, and then still swing as hard as you want. If I showed somebody or asked somebody, let's put a ball down. And I said, I want you to get to here and hit the ball as hard as you want. You'd probably have to think about it a second and try to figure out how to get into it. And it probably wouldn't be very straight. But you'd be like, give me time, give me some practice. When I want you to be able to just simply come up and hit the ball as hard as you want. In fact, I didn't think I tried very hard on that one. Let's go a little bit further and get some compression on it and hit the ball as hard as we want. So now, let's get things a little looser. What I'm trying to say, there's a hip in the way in the golf shot. And we all want to get the golf club from point A to point B while we get the ball to target C. And I honestly believe you first have to do a couple things, and it's pretty easy. If you find out, I don't want to hit my pool noodle, just stretch real quick. All I'm asking you to do is stretch those muscles and just get limbered up. Okay, we're limber. So let's go to the second part. I'm going to ask you to get in a typical, I don't care if it's a 9-iron, whatever golf stance you want to get into. Cross your arms right here. And all I want you to do is just for now, left shoulder, right shoulder. Left shoulder, right shoulder. Left shoulder, right shoulder. Then if you get into a typical golf stance, whatever your golf stance happens to be, and a lot of people, you kind of need to get those feet apart. A lot of people play with their feet too close together. So now we're just going to go left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder. So now you got your shoulders kind of working. You figured out how much stretch, so how much rotation do you have. So the next thing we're going to do real quick is we're just going to find your swing plane. Where is your plane at? So again, we're going to get in our golf stance. We're going to bend from the waist. In other words, if you were to put a golf club here, bend from the waist, slightly bend your knees, and then all I want you to do, stay centered, keep your head still, swing your arms back and forth. There's your golf plane. You now know where it's at. So, recap. We went left shoulder, right shoulder, and then we found where our swing plane is, but we wanted to keep our head still so we could figure this out. So that's pretty simple so far. When we're talking about the body turn, all we're saying is, and you're finding it here, when you do finding your plane, see how when I come up to this side, this knee is not locking up. Once you lock that knee or that hip, you're in trouble. Because now to get back, you literally have to kind of lift your hips up and settle them back down again, and that's called getting stuck. So a lot of people will tell you, oh, you can't turn your hips too much, you're gonna get stuck back here. Does it look like, if I'm rotating correctly, does it look like I'm getting stuck anywhere, or is my hands staying on the plane? So now let's try something else. I don't want you to use your hands. You know where the plane is. Now I want you to use your hips. And all I want you to do is start using your hips to move your body. So you're gonna have to start your hips before your arms will swing. You gotta have something for momentum. So this is all I'm saying. If I were to stop, my hands go back down. So all I want you to do is start moving your hips. Might have to be slow for a second, and then start getting those hips to where they are moving your arms. So now your arms are totally out of this. And they're gonna tell you, oh my God, Randall, if you try to do a swing and you get those hips going, you're gonna get stuck in the back and you're gonna do all kinds of things. Most likely you're gonna slice or blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things they're gonna tell you. But all I'm saying is if you keep centered, you're gonna be fine. But what happens when we add the hip? So now I'm adding the hip in, and as you can see, I'm not getting stuck anywhere. So if I keep my head still, I can still fire away, and I've got all this room now, so I can hold here, fire through. So let's think about that. I'm on my golf swing, throw the hands up, fire through. Now there's a lot of questions about what starts the downswing. So we're gonna get to the next step. So we know we've already gone left shoulder, right shoulder, and we know we've gone getting the hips to move the arms. And the arms can travel whichever way they want, but they're gonna go the direction that the hips are pulling. So let's look at one last thing. I need to move this probably. Let's look at the golf swing now. And as you can see, I have training aids that I've created so that I'm kind of forced to stay within under the plane here and then staying in front of here without hitting plywood. So I can get in here pretty tight, come back, and swing as hard as I want. I'm not worried about hitting anything. Well, how are we doing that? If you look at the top part of your golf swing, just the top part, you're going to be coming from here and you're going to be coming back. That's going to stretch the hip over, and you want to get your right hip sucked backwards, and that creates that crease right there. So you've seen everybody gets that crease. They're not bending their knee. And this one isn't a baseball swing. They're not coming over. Their knee flexes out and maybe a little bit in. Their hips aren't swaying back here, but they will later. We'll get to that. But all I want you to do is it's just like this, very free flowing. Stop. And now instead of moving your arms, I want you to just move your hips. And I mean that. Just move your hips. So I'm saying, find your swing plane, get your hips going now. There they go. Come to a stop and just move my hips. Now obviously your hands can't be up here when you try to hit the ball. So how does this work? If you come up into the back and load up, so you're over, your weight is now on this side, you're basically getting the left shoulder almost over the right foot. So you've come up and you stop. Most people from here wouldn't know how to make a swing. They wouldn't know what to do. But if you start leading with the hips, that's going to start shallowing the club. All you care about is coming into about here and then starting your release and then following through. So what does that look like? Well, if I come here and stop and then just move my hips and swing the club down when it needs to come down, which is mostly due to gravity, and I'm holding my lag back here, excuse me, holding my lag back here, and I'm going to have a certain amount of pressure, and then I just slightly release that pressure, I can swing away. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, I can follow along with that, but what about your low point? So if we look at this, and we take a ball, and I'm going to set the ball, but I'm going to set my club right here in front of it. And then I'm going to take another ball, and I'm going to put it, I don't know, 14 inches in front of it. And then I got to make sure, I've got to move that back just a hair. I don't want to hit my camera. So now, when you're coming up and you freeze and you throw that weight forward, I didn't want to swing fully, sorry. I think I can clear my camera now. Yeah, I'm okay. You throw that weight forward, you're going to be hitting your low point forward. So remember, I said I want you to do this and get that left side going. As that left side goes, it's going to run out of room and it's going to turn. So here you come turning. That gets the weight forward. In fact, you can start getting so much weight forward like a Scotty Scheffler that you're already on your left heel before you even turn, before you even hit, because there's nothing in the way. So this is a very simple thing. You are going left when you get to your backswing. And I call this lead left. And then I call it lead left because now you're leading not at the top, you're leading at the bottom with your hip. And that's all you're doing. So if you want to know how to start the backswing and get down to hitting down, your downswing, you can come up and then make that turn. So what starts it? Getting the weight going, the arms falling, coming through, get your low point way up here. I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to back into it. And no offense, Tiger, but I also didn't have to do the Tiger squat. All I had to do was come up and get my left shoulder toward my right foot. And as I come through, I'm getting my right shoulder, really past my left foot. If you're doing right, left shoulder in this motion, the top half of my body, you're going to be hitting down no matter what. And the last part is, as long as you're turning, you're not going to come and hit fat. What happens is, as you're coming down, you're running out of real estate with your hip and it's going to come up. So as you're coming down, when that hip starts coming up, that's that slingshot where you're coming through. So I haven't added a lot to the swing. In fact, what I'm showing you can work with any swing. If you're the kind of guy who says, you know what, I like to get to the top and I get those hands through first. Okay. If you're the kind of guy who says, no, I'd rather use my body and I want to come through and get the body through first. And no, I'm not trying to hit these. I'm just trying to prove a point here and then I'll start hitting balls. You can do it. Then the only other thing is how do you hit straight? And that's just knowing, like John Daly says, you know where, if you start hitting one-handed chips, so you know where you're coming down every time. And this is basically a pendulum so that you can come up and hit down and you've got that weight going forward and you got those shoulders coming around That's all we're looking at. So the only thing that's changed really is I'm just saying, move the top half of your body into the backswing and leave it. I'm not saying hold your back to the target. I'm saying just leave it and then rotate the bottom. And what will end up happening is, because you're coming from here down with your shoulders, they're going to do a lot of the work for you. And so now all you have to do is come here, get that body out of the way, and start swinging. So, what does it look like? Well, you can start off pretty small. You can come up here and take a pretty small swing. Nothing fancy. And it should go straight. And I got a target on my net, by the way, so I can keep an eye on this. Then you can maybe get a little bit bigger. And I know it's hitting where my 7-iron, I'm hitting where my 7-iron is supposed to. So what creates your flight, the height and everything? Well, that's just this lag. You let this go too soon, however, bad things happen, obviously. If you start throwing your hands too soon at the ball, bad things happen. And by bad things happening, I just mean you're probably going to hit thin. But if you really believe in this and you hold out and you hit through, you're going to be hitting a very clean shot with clean contact in the center every time. And if you do that, then you're probably going to be like a lot of the people on YouTube. They're going to say, oh, once we get you hitting the center, you add yardage. And that's true, because you're not hitting on a hosel, you know, toward the elbow of your club where the offset is, or you're not hitting toward the toe. You're starting to find out, how can I come in and hit through? The problem most people have, they just don't know how to start the swing. And so I've decided, well, let's make this as easy as possible. Lead left, and you can hold here, and then you can lead right. And that ball went right where I wanted it to. So even though I stopped here, once I know this job up here is done, and now I'm turning, and that places me toward the ball. Now, yes, I'm a strong grip. If you're a neutral grip, you're probably going to have to do what they tell you. Twist the screw, knuckle down, throttle down like a motorcycle. But the other thing I'm a big proponent on, like a Pete Cohen, get that hand fairly strong across your thumb. So I'm going to show you one last thing. If you want to figure out what your grip is, there's 1,000 ways, 1,000 videos, but here's another one. I preset what I want my shaft lean to be, whether it would be 10 degrees, 12 degrees, I'm not that exact. But then all I do, so there it is, I put my hands at my side, and you can see my hands, like most people, they're about a 45-degree angle. So now I just take that hand, move it, and put it right here. I take this hand, and I flick the wrist down so that I'm still looking like I give blood, and then I make that little V. I squeeze my fingers in to make the little V in the palm of my hand. So all I do is flick the wrist, put it right on top of that thumb, and then if I want, I can even do the little trigger finger. But once you got that grip and you're now solid into it, the other thing I haven't talked about, what happens on the back? When you come up here, are you going to be flat wristed and then slightly rotate coming back down again, so when you're here, you're coming through? I say yeah, if that's what you're comfortable with. I also say, if you want these to work, this one's a fishtail, and this one pretty well does a fishtail, but some people like to also add this. So some people will come up as they come over out of 45, then they add this, and that's how they start getting that lag that they're looking for. But I'm saying, well, why not just take the club and throw it back behind you? Yeah, you get a little bowie, but not much. But once you start throwing it behind you and you start coming down, from that left shoulder to right shoulder, that's going to increase that lag. The other thing is, I showed you where your swing plane is. So if you're in the right 45 degree, and this is your swing plane, that means you don't necessarily have to tighten that arm all the way in here. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be hitting like Bryson DeChambeau. You're not going to be more like this. But I'm saying when you get in here, let's go ahead and get up where I'm normally at. When you get in here, I am saying you don't have to have that much of an angle right here, which some people think helps add lag or power or something like that. But I'm saying, man, if you come back and you hit through that ball as hard as you can, what more power do you need? I'm just trying to stay on the swing plane. So that's what this represents. It's just parallel to my swing plane, but gives me enough room for my forearm. So when I'm coming up here, my forearm doesn't rub on it. That's all it is. And then, like I said, I told you what this is. Now, what I normally try to do on this edge of the board, that's my 9-iron. And then if I want to go to a 7-iron, maybe a 5-iron, maybe my 2 utility or a 3 wood. So I kind of move this around in here, and that helps me visualize where I need my low point. So if my 7-iron's there, and I stayed nice and tightly turned, you're not moving off, you're not doing anything crazy, and I say just throw the arms up and swing through, I literally threw them up. And there's some long hitters, by the way. That's exactly what they're doing. If you look, they're throwing that hand, but sometimes they do it this way, so that is as cupped as can be. Well, if you're relaxed, you can throw this any which way you want back here, and when you start coming down, you're gonna know it's right. It's gonna come down on that swing plane. If you're starting to cast your shoulder, it's gonna be top heavy. That toe's coming in. Even if you're coming in from the inside, you get that toe working, there's your snap hook. So if you don't know whether or not you're gonna be coming in clean or not, just come try it. You're here, start getting the hips all the way through and start swinging. And if you want, stop right here and just see if you're coming in square. Then it's just a matter of this controlling the flight. That's all it is. So if we take a real ball, just don't tell my doctor. He doesn't want me hitting golf balls all the time until the end of August. And it's hot right now. If you see me sweating, I'm in Texas. So now, that's my 7-iron hit. I wailed away at it. But what if you don't want to wail away at it? Let's go ahead and use another real ball. That one felt good. If you don't want to wail away at it, you can come in soft. That one was a little fat. You're gonna, oops, I don't want to use a real ball. You're gonna find out when you're controlling the lag, what I call lag, what other people call lag. When you control that, you just want to hold this till you're just about at the ball. Once you get at the ball, then it's time to release. So even if you're going slow, you kind of want to hold it and then you can release. And so you release, even if you do this, you let this flop and you come through, you're still going to get those 3 fingers eventually as you come around. So working the other end, I don't really pay attention. Truth be known, when I'm hitting good golf shots, truth be known, I just simply come here and hit that ball. I can't tell you what's going on back here. I literally just throw my club because it's already trained. Because I worked on this and found my swing plane, I throw the club back there. So if I said, just start on contact drills. Well, what's a contact drill? Open door, closed door. That's your contact drill. If you can do those and you can hit straight and you can have solid contact, All right. Obviously, I'd rather hit real balls. So if you can just come in and come through. That's poor contact on that one. Why? I rushed it. Still, that was a little toward the heel. I'm not saying that we don't have to continue to practice. We're not going to be a machine, but I am saying you start working on this. Your goal is to not feel the ball coming off the club. When you can start hitting and you no longer feel that ball coming off that club and it's going straight, then you're ready to move on. So if you want to start, I would highly recommend, remember, you're going this way and then you're turning the hips. Shoulder, hips. It's pretty simple. You don't have to think about what starts the swing. All you have to think about is, okay, he wants me to go this way, that way. Now, you start throwing your hands, you're going to start hitting left or thin. If you come up here and do that and kind of throw your hands, I almost hit the camera, they're going left. I told you. All you have to do for right now is you come in and hold that flag till you go through. If you don't come in correctly, you'll hit a hosel. So you still have to have some coordination for this move. But if you just trust your body, and I'm sure you did wedge shots or watched YouTubes on how to hit a wedge, where they tell you to just bring this back and go through. It's sort of like that. We're just saying, no, we're going to open the door, shut the door. So we're going to open the door, shut the door. That's all we're doing. You want to know your ball control, your ball flight? Just do that little wedge, do this little contact drill. If you come up and you keep hitting left, I'll tell you why you're hitting left. And a lot of you are going to be surprised. If in your backswing, you don't get your back to the target 90 degrees on a shot, and let's say one day you get about 75, 80 degrees, but your body is still expecting to do a full swing. Well now, instead of going 90 degrees and coming through straight, you only went 75 degrees. I gotta be careful with my camera here. You only went 75 degrees, but your body still expected to do the same amount of turn. Now you're going left. On the other hand, if you get 90 degrees back here, but then you don't finish your turn, you're going right because you didn't finish your turn. You'll start understanding all your ball flights. You'll know when you hit a ball bad. You'll know when you're throwing your hands. So you come up here and you think, oh, this is easy, and you start throwing those hands and you start hitting fat or you start hitting thin because you're just throwing hands. You're going to be like, oh man, I threw my hands again. And I'm saying, no, you literally turn. This turns back, hips go forward. So then when you get to your next size shot, say it's just a half shot, you're going to come back and forward. Now, if you don't do certain things, you're not going to like your ball flight, but what you are going to get is a straight ball flight. So now all of a sudden, what controls how straight the ball goes? Again, it's coming up and hitting straight so that you know where this guy is every time. John Daly will tell you, man, that's one of the biggest things right there. Knowing how your arm, your left arm, is repeatable coming in. Tom Segudo, tilt, stack and tilt, he'll tell you the same thing. Treat this like a pendulum. There's a lot of people who'll tell you how the left arm works. So the left arm is trying to keep you on plane so that you're on plane. This guy back here, as far as I'm concerned, it creates the height of the flight. So the more you can hold that lag and get through the lower the ball flight would be. So if we didn't hold the lag and we didn't try to get through the ball and we basically just stayed here, that ball went high because that's the loft of the club. But once you want to start getting it down and coming down, you can do that. But I promise you one thing. If you start just working on, I'm going to do what he says, and left turn, right turn, and you start making solid contact, and you start learning how to get that left hip out of the way every time, and you can start hitting as hard as you want, you're going to have a choice. You're going to decide, do I want to get the hands through first and then the body comes through later? Or you're going to say, well, do I want to go ahead and use the muscles of the core and the body and kind of take my time a little bit more at it and get the hips and then the body? You're still coming together. You're never going to be back here. But if you work on this and then you work on getting the hips and your arms can flow freely, you're never getting stuck. So the sooner you get the hips out of the way, the sooner you have more choices on how you want to fire the club through there, because your hips are gone, and it's very easy to start working on timing to get your hands to go straight through the impact zone. I better stop. I don't want this to be too long.